Welcome back, everybody. Lots to unpack this week from a balmy, cold Canada. Let's get into it.
It's a ticket for the championship.
What's going on, everybody? As I said, you can see I'm in a bit of a different setting this week. The house is a mess. Couldn't find anywhere else to get Wi-Fi, so naturally, as you do in Canada, you put a toque on and you come to the park. Rach, how you doing? My resident Raptors fan in the UK.
I'm doing all right. I think a bit more warmer than what you are, I think. Yeah.
It's all good. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. I know it's been a rough week for our Raptors a little bit. Poor loss tonight to the lowly Oklahoma City Thunder. But we move. First comment in for you, Rach.
Oh, hey.
Big up, Rach. Thanks for the comment. Rach is fantastic. I agree.
No, it's been a rough week for us Raptors fans, but it's going to all turn around tonight. We're going to smash it out of the park tonight against those Knicks. So
That's it. Yeah, the return of Canada basketball prodigal son and RJ Barrett. I've been listening to a lot of this coverage over here of the game, and by all accounts, he is ready to put on a show tonight. So another test for the Raptors coming up tonight. And a chance to get back on track, but we could make this whole show about the Raptors if that's what people wanted.
We could do, and Greg's not here. So
Greg is not here.
He's not here
Greg,
yet.
He will be joining us. Yeah, he will be joining us. He'll be here in just a couple minutes. But yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. Lots to unpack this week. Lots going on. We start this week's show with Luka's conditioning issues, and it's been no secret that Luka Doncic has started the season off slowly. Obviously, he's played a lot of basketball over the last year with the Mavs playoff run over like in the bubble and last year, and then over to the Olympics to play for Slovenia. When you look at he slow start, as I said, and he's come out this past week and admitted that, after the Olympics took place, that he had that sort of 2 to 3 week window where he was able to unwind a bit and said that he needed that time, went away, and he's sort of hinted at the fact that maybe he let go a little too much and maybe let his conditioning slide a bit. What's your whole take on this issue, Rach? I mean, do you see it as, he's young, he made a mistake? Do you see it as just unprofessional of him, or do you see it as, he's played a lot of basketball. He needed that time to relax and unwind, and he'll get himself back on track.
I think Luka's a professional. I don't think you can discount his professionalism at all. He's a class player. He's absolutely insane. But I think we've got to remember that celebrities and sports players, they're still humans at the end of the day. And like you said, he has played a lot of basketball. Obviously, the Slovenia team came fourth in the Olympics. So he had a very good run there as well. So he's clearly burnt out. And yes, he maybe took a little bit of time off to relax, which he's absolutely entitled to do. He's a human at the end of the day. But it's good to know that he's acknowledging it, to say, look, I know I've done wrong. I've maybe took it a bit too far, and he needs to get back on track. I think obviously there's no shame about saying that you put on weight. It's a natural thing.
Absolutely.
But he's averaging at 25 points per game and 44% in the field. Yeah. Obviously, by Luka's standards, it's not up to where Luka is usually at. But by any other player's standards, it's all right. It's not bad.
A return, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that bad. So I think he'll work it out. I have no doubt about it that he'll be absolutely fine. Like I said before, he's a professional. He's a all-star player. He's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I have no doubt that maybe he'll shed a few pounds, but I think people need to be careful not to shame him, and because that's a thing in society that you should never really do that to someone. If someone puts on a few pounds, so what? It's only weight, it can come back off, especially if he's playing basketball. The amount that he's obviously had the injuries with his ankle as well, which couldn't have helped with his conditioning and his training regime, so that's obviously disrupted it as well. That ankle issue, though, is a little bit more of an issue than what people think. Really, I think it's a lingering issue that's going to keep reoccurring if he doesn't, really rest it and really get it recuperated. So, I have no doubt about Luka that he'll be absolutely fine. I think he just needs to get an ankle sorted first and then get his conditioning in check.
I mean, you talked about his professionalism and his personality at the beginning there, and it's one of those things, like you said. I mean, there's lots of players that maybe would have shied away from the criticism and would have sort of maybe got their back up, but to come out and admit, you know what, this is a learning moment for me. Maybe things got away from me a bit too much, and irrespective of the weight, you're right, absolutely you're right. Like, it has nothing to do with the fact that he's put on a little bit of weight, because there's nothing wrong with that. It's the conditioning aspect of things, and the fact that with his job and what he has to do, that I can kind of see it from the Mavericks point of view, but at the same time, I also believe that, like you said, he's a professional. It's going to happen. You need that bit of time to unwind, and for him now going forward, it's just a matter, I think, maybe of finding that balance between, right, it's the off season. I've got a few weeks off now. How do I release my stress and release what I have to, unwind, and at the same time keep myself going into training camp, keep myself, in the peak condition, or at least in better condition coming into training camp. So I agree with you. I'm not worried about Luka, and you touched on his numbers there. I mean, by averaging like 25 a game by anyone else's standards in the league is just, the guy's a good player. He's going to come out of it.
Of course. I think the only reason that people are getting their backs up so much about it is because he's Dallas's it man. Like, he is.
That's it.
The Mavs, and that's what I wouldn't say rely on. That's everything goes through him, and he is like all-star main man. So when he's not performing, obviously there's going to be a little bit of a dip in form, and things are going to go wrong for the Mavs. But I think we could be absolutely fine.
No, that's a really good point. Like, because if you were talking about a team with, talking about the Nets, and maybe if they had all three of their players and it was just one of them maybe that was struggling, the other two could pick it up and get buckets for them. But you're right, when you're talking about Dallas, unfortunately, he is their main man. Well, not unfortunate for him, but unfortunately for Dallas. A couple more comments in here. This one's from Jakey Davies. Hey, Rach and Tim, love you both.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Have a feeling Butler is going to have a great season. Absolutely. Thanks, Owen, for that comment. Owen Coyle. Surely it can't be the Owen Coyle. Right. On to our next topic, and let's go to the mess that is brewing in Portland at the moment, Rach. And they've parted ways with their GM. We touched on last week's show because of turmoil within the organization. Terry Stotts is gone. Chauncey Billups, obviously coming in there as the new head coach this season, has tried to go to a more up-tempo style and has them, full court pressing and pressing ball handlers. And they seem to just be giving up so many easy shots on the defensive end. It really is just mayhem right now in Portland. They're in a free fall in terms of, I think they've lost 7 of the last 8. You look at Dame Lillard, a lot of speculation around his future there. And Dame is reportedly looking to sign an extension, but the Blazers aren't so sure. The Blazers are wondering if maybe it's better to part ways with Dame at this point and capitalize on that value and maybe look towards a rebuild. What are your thoughts on what's going on right now in Portland?
I think it's been coming for a while, for a few seasons. They've been consistent in the playoffs. They've always kind of been there or thereabouts, but it's been brewing for a few years, and a rebuild, while it's not that attractive to some fans, obviously you've got to kind of think of the logistics of the situation. You've got to think, is this in the best interest of the Blazers going forward for years and years and years? Like, keeping Dame is obviously, it would be great because obviously he's world class, no doubt about it, but is it better to capitalize and rake in the assets and really, really focus on getting that rebuild and getting the foundations in for years to come, rather than just focusing on maybe this season and next season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard because I can see because obviously we're going through a rebuild at the minute.
Yeah.
Losing Kyle and losing Kawhi as well the year before was heartbreaking. I'm still not ready for that. I'm still not ready for that Miami game. It's going to be hard. But when you look at it in hindsight, you've got to think, is this for the best? And now looking at the Raptors from a Raptors point of view, like we're going through a rebuild. I think it was obviously for the best that we parted ways with Kyle. That breaks my heart to say. I do think that it's in the best of the organisation for the years to follow, and you've got to really set that foundation structure for going forward. So I think the Trailblazers should cash in on Lillard. He'll be like, there's no one that wouldn't take. I'd love him, but there's no one that wouldn't take him, in my opinion. But yeah, I think they should cash in and really, really focus on rebuilding that team.
Yeah, it's a testament to Dame's loyalty that he wants to sign the extension and he's eager to get that done. But like you said, you touched on, interestingly, what you touched on there was the rebuild going on in other organizations. And you point to the Raptors and look at, what's taking place there. And I think as Raptors fans, you and I can both sort of agree that we can see a plan. We can see where this, they made that difficult decision to cut ties with Kyle. They've handed the reins over to Fred and Pascal Siakam to be the leaders. There's the development of the young players. And yes, we're going through some growing pains in a minute. We can see, young players making rookie mistakes. Fred and Pascal, we have injuries, but Fred and Pascal trying to carve out those roles. If you look at what a rebuild would look like in Portland with a new GM, a newer head coach, really caught in between that sort of area of they're not incredibly bad, but at the same time, if you're going to cut ties with Dame, you got to get something back, and where do you go? It just seems like, in terms of a rebuild there, that maybe, although it might be the best move, there doesn't really seem to be a sort of plan laid out yet as to how they move forward.
I think they really need to get that in check before they make any decision on Dame at all. They need to have a proper sit down, proper meeting, and say, right, this is who we're going to rebuild the team around. This is what we're going to do going forward. This is who we want in return for Dame. There needs to be massive, conversations around. I know there's been a lot of talk about Ben Simmons going to the Blazers.
Yeah,
that's what I've read today. I'm not sure whether that would be the best fit, in my opinion. But they need to do something, and fast, because obviously they've got one of the worst defenses in the NBA this season. It's not going well for them, and I think they really need to. A shake-up is needed. Something needs to be done.
Yeah, you touched on Ben Simmons there. We'll get to that in a second in terms of how he would fit in maybe on the Blazers. But it's a question in here from Elliot Chambers, I believe, is how I pronounce the first name. If I pronounced your name wrong, I'm sorry. Let me know in the comments how to pronounce it properly. But would Lillard feel like he has to be the main man on main man at a team? I don't get the impression from Dame that it just, you look at the things that he's done so far with being so loyal to Portland. By all accounts, he's a great teammate. He's a great leader. Norm Powell, former Raptor Norm Powell. There always seems to be a Raptor connection for us, but that's fine because we dominate the show. But Norm Powell talks glowingly about him and how much he helped him. His shots come within the flow of the offense. He's not your sort of Russell Westbrook type player where, he's putting up bad shots. He gets good looks. So I don't necessarily think he feels like he has to be the main man. But I also don't think that he would shy away from that because there was talk that he was possibly LeBron wanted him to come to the Lakers to be a part of that setup, and he rebuffed those approaches. So I don't necessarily think he feels like he has to be the main man, but at the same time, he's the main man in Portland, and we see what he's doing there. But what are your thoughts on that, Rach? Do you think he wants to go one of his parameters will be, I want to go somewhere where I'm going to have the ball the most?
No, I don't think Dame's like that. He seems very, obviously I don't know him, but he seems very humble to me. And he seems that not everything is going to be about him. So I don't think that he will at all. I don't think he's like that. But then again, I don't know him. Thinking back to that Ben Simmons thing, I'm just thinking about it now. Obviously, what in my head, all I think of when I think of Ben Simmons is he's fucking crap offensively. But defensively, he's rock solid.
Yeah.
And that's what the Blazers need.
Yeah.
Really. So although I don't agree with a player constantly focusing on one aspect of the game. Like, yes, he's an amazing defensive player, but it just sticks out for me last season, the way he literally looked for any other option as to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want from a guy on your team, really.
Yeah.
Even if you are a defense, you want to just take the shot on. But I still don't think he would be a great fit, but they need someone with his defensive caliber to come in to the Blazers team, because their defense needs a massive shake-up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you touched on it. We've touched on it a couple times in this in previous podcasts with the rumored links between Ben Simmons and Dame Lillard. And yeah, like you're right. When you look at what Portland needs, and that's it. First of all, if you lose Dame, that's a lot of 3-point shooting that you need to replace, and Ben Simmons doesn't have that in his locker. Lillard stretches the floor so well that he frees up so much space for other players. On the other hand, you're looking at a defensive player of the year runner-up last year. Portland's struggling this year defensively with the way that Chauncey Billups wants to play and really get out and be aggressive and after teams. Maybe Ben is the answer for them. But then if you're looking towards a rebuild scenario and you're going to have to sign Simmons to an extension, is he the type of player that you want to give that money to? So food for thought there for sure, and we will be interesting to see what happens going forward in Portland. Indeed. Okay, Rach, your turn.
I think, Greg, you can do it. Go on.
Haley. Perfect. Greg to the rescue. And thanks for clearing that up.
I don't have much excuse.
It's Greg's sister.
I've got no excuse.
I figured within the Chambers family, so.
Absolutely, yes. Younger sister.
Perfect. Is she a Clippers fan as well?
No, she's a Jazz fan.
Oh, I love her already.
Yeah.
Utah was my team before the Raptors got a
she just
here,
picked.
So.
Like, she knew nothing about basketball last lockdown, and she just picked a team. Because of
Could be worse.
Yeah, she liked the name of Udoka Azubuike, who was drafted by the Jazz. So she just decided that was going to be her team, and they just happened to be really good.
Perfect. Well, we're gonna
happy himself. Absolutely.
At least you don't go for someone kind of mainstream, like like Lakers.
Oh no, Lakers are banned. Lakers are banned. Not like the Lakers.
We'll have to get her on for the next Jazz Clippers.
100%.
But Utah Jazz.
How cold are you, Tim? How cold are you?
Mate, my house is a disaster. I couldn't do it there. I got a hat and gloves on. I was telling Rach, I tried to go to the coffee shop to use their Wi-Fi. They had background music playing. So I just came to the park where I know they have free Wi-Fi. So it's nothing. It's
Wait,
Canada.
You get free Wi-Fi in the park.
That's what I think. Mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect, right?
Someone would steal something in this country if you did that. There would be something set up and it would be stolen. They've got phone shops in this country where the phones are glued down because people will go in and steal them.
It works well for us in Canada because in the winters are long here, so gotta give us free Wi-Fi so we can sit outside and not be hemmed indoors for months. Yeah. Right. Well, Greg, we'll get your. Me and Rach just sort of gave our thoughts on what's going on in Portland. Talked about the sort of mess that's there right now with the the turmoil within the organization, where the GM was the long-term GM has resigned. Terry Stotts obviously leaving, and Chauncey Billups coming in, and then obviously Dame Lillard wanting to sign an extension. Is trying to get that done, but the Blazers aren't too sure. They're wondering if maybe it's time for them to cash in on Dame and start the rebuild. So give us your thoughts here, mate, on the Portland situation and how you see it shaken down.
I'm not massively surprised that it sort of happened. Like, it looked like before the season started that Dame was going to request a trade, and then there was obviously, he was getting all the backlash from the fans, even though he's given the fans everything over the last 8 years maybe that he's been there. He's been there a long time. He's given the fans everything. He wants to be what LeBron was to Cleveland. He wants to win a championship for them and for that city. But I don't think he's going to. And I feel like, especially with the CJ McCollum news in the last week, I feel like Portland will see a chance to hit a rebuild, and just probably you're going to think CJ will be out for a long time. Or at least if he's not out for a long time, he's not going to be the CJ. He's not going to be the guard that we know he is. They know he was in the way he was playing this season. You don't have to cash in a max player that's going to be unhappy, that clearly didn't want Chauncey Billups as a coach, or if he did, it certainly wasn't the highest priority, wasn't top of the list. And then it just seemed with the Neil O'Shea being fired that things are sort of breaking down very quickly. There's clearly a breakdown somewhere between the players and the rest of the organization in terms of where it's going to go. I don't see how, especially if CJ is going to be out and Dame playing how he is, because he's not playing like someone that's happy. He's not playing like someone he's not playing like the player we know he is. Obviously, he's been affected by the rule changes, as a lot of guards have been. And some for the better. Obviously, we'll speak about that later with Trae Young. But I think that Portland should really take the chance here and just hit a rebuild, really, and just decide that Dame's not going to re-sign. Get what you can from because he's a superstar. You'll get picks. You will get good picks from bad teams that will pay for Damian Lillard, and it's worth taking to just hit a rebuild and try again, because I don't think that the way things are now, there's so much wrong with Portland. Like they don't know sort of how they want to play. They're not great defensively. Offensively, they're brilliant. Defensively, they're an absolute shambles. Like they're big. Yusuf Nurkic isn't a big that can guard other bigs in the league. So why is he there? Okay, I don't see. They always say that about Nurkic. He's never. You can't guard the top centers in the league. So why is he there? Why would you ever want a center that can't guard people like Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, and he plays center? Like, you need to be able to guard these guys, and he just can't. And that's what's costing them. They can be as efficient as they want from three and on offense, and really good at forcing turnovers, but their defense is awful. And the only way they're going to fix that is by cashing in on one of the two stars, either CJ or Dame, and starting again.
So is that where you see it going? Maybe then, if you're going to cash in on a Dame Lillard, are you going to bring in, like me and Rach were just talking about, a player like Ben Simmons, that you're going to lose certainly some perimeter scoring with the loss of Dame Lillard, but you're going to improve defensively? Are you looking at a rebuild that we'll maybe get into next week in terms of what's come out of Indiana, and maybe you're looking at a Miles Turner, someone that can protect the rim and can guard the perimeter as well, is good in the pick and roll defense, and improve your perimeter defense?
Absolutely. Bad defenses don't win chips. Bad defenses don't win championships. You don't win You can win championships with sort of subpar offense. LeBron carried that Cleveland team the second time round to a championship, and the offense was basically him and Kyrie and Kevin Love occasionally, but Kevin Love wasn't greatly efficient. You can have an efficient offense, but if you've got bad defense, you're not winning league. You're not winning championships. You're not getting far in playoffs. It doesn't matter what you do. You can have odd runs. You can beat good teams on off nights, but the best teams are good defensive teams. It's why, despite obviously with the Clippers this year, despite being not having Kawhi there for the scoring, defensively we've gone up a level. I certainly feel like we have certainly 1 through 5 guarding other guards. I think we're much better than we were last season. I think you see that as well, even with Toronto this year. I think a lot of where Toronto have really improved this year is defensively as well. Like, despite Kyle Lowry's not there, that's fine. So you've lost a little bit there. You've obviously lost the guy that's there forever. But I think everyone's stepped up defensively. Bad you don't win championships with bad defense. It's just not what happens. And right now, Portland's defense is awful. And like I said, if Nurkic is going to be in a team like that, he has to be in a team that are going to play small, and he has to be in a team that are going to work to his abilities. But he doesn't. He can't guard centers. So he needs to play the 4. And if he can't play the 4 efficiently, he needs to be in a small ball lineup to play the 5.
I completely agree.
I'm not sure if it's my Wi-Fi. It probably is, but
it's your free park Wi-Fi.
I just caught the end of it. Yeah, the dodgy park
free
Wi-Fi.
Park Wi-Fi. Yeah, exactly.
It
won't be my Wi-Fi this week. I'm in a different room. My sister's moved out, so I'm now in her room. That's just like a spare room, so I shouldn't have any Wi-Fi issues now.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, I'm in like literally an empty room that's got Christmas presents everywhere, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. What were you saying, Tim?
Right. Well, Rach, I'll come to you on this one. Trae Young, and Greg touched on Trae Young there and the season that he's having, and he touched on guards that have been affected by the rule changes. Trae Young is certainly one of those players that has not been affected by the rule changes and has adapted his game brilliantly. Poured in 38 points the other night, and only 2 of those came from the foul line. He was 4th in the league in free throw attempts. He's now down to 16, I believe, but just keeps rolling, and he's adapted his game brilliantly. I think he's even expanded his range this season. He's like shooting logo threes now, stretching the floor magnificently. So just ridiculous. What else can we say about the play of this guy?
What can you say? I mean, people don't like him because he's good. People genuinely they hate his attitude, and he has that kind of arrogance that you need if you're a good player. And like, so what if you can back it up? Then just go for it. Like, be as arrogant as you want. Like, at least he's got a personality, unlike some people in the NBA. Like, they've just got absolutely dead personality. But Trae is. I've said this for a few years, Greg. I think I said this to you for like over a year. Like, I love Trae Young. I think he's insane. I just love his aura and his attitude. And this season alone, he's up there with Steph, in my opinion, 100%. And people just don't want to have that conversation though, because it's Trae Young and it's not LeBron, or it's not KD, or whoever else you want to throw in there as the All-Stars. But because it's Trae, and he's got that reputation around him, he's got that arrogance about him. People just don't want to talk about it. They always want to just like tear him down and say, "Oh, his mid range isn't good. Now his threes aren't good. Now something else is bad, or he needs to improve on this." Whereas he's first in the NBA. Well, as of yesterday, sorry, the stats were. I couldn't bother to just go through all the games last night and tally up if he's still first. But first in the NBA this season for points and second for assists.
Yeah,
just insane.
So I think the stats just speak for themselves, really. So I think some respect needs to start being put on Trae Young's name.
Yeah. Yeah. How about yourself, Greg? I mean, hasn't necessarily been. I thought that Atlanta, in terms of what they did last year in the playoffs and how they started the season, but Trae Young it's been down to no fault of Trae Young. I mean, the guy has just been incredible.
He has been. He's been so good. He's been good from the mid range now this season as well. Like he's rather than looking for that easy foul that he was getting last year, because you're not going to get them this year. He's just pulling up out of the pick and roll when the two defenders go to guard Clint Capella, because Trae's such a good passer. Like, you can literally thread a needle to get the ball to Capella with an easy lob. When two of them follow Clint Capella, Trae, rather than try to draw a foul or anything, just pulls up from mid range, and he'll just. He's so good, and he's always been that player. And I think this season he's proven it. I think he's always known he was that good, and that's where the arrogance, that's where the character, like Rich said, and everything comes from. It's because he's always believed that he's of that level. He's got that mentality where like he's the best player on the court every time he goes out there, and this season more times than not he's showing it. Just watching some of his highlights earlier on today, when I knew we were going to be talking about it, the amount of times he literally just sets up a screen with Clint Capella and then just rolls out of it and pulls up from mid range, like that's crazy. And then when you try and leave him on the perimeter, he'll hit you with a three anyway from sort of anywhere. Like he's in the 85th percentile, I think, this season for pull up mid range as well as pull up threes, which is ridiculous. If he can keep that up all season, he'll be an All NBA guard, and an All NBA guard this year is looking like a serious feat with players with Steph doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Reese in the house. Reese, of course, the host of the weekly Steel Chair podcast, right here, also on the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. Another terrific show and terrific content on the channel itself. Check it out, guys. Make sure you like and share this video if you're enjoying it, and check out the other content. Follow the weekly Armchair Sports Talk on Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't. We got some good stuff coming along. But you touched on it there, Greg, as well with Trae and his ability this season to, the mid-range, the pull-up jumper. When you're an undersized guard, and undersized in terms of like your stature, then you look at. They always say you need to be a good shooter and from like a good 3-point shooter and have a good pull-up, and that's what they were saying about someone like Jalen Suggs, for example, coming out of college, is what Trae Young has done, knowing that, like you touched on, turning the corner on that pick and roll, and then maybe looking last year to get a straight line drive to the basket and looking for contact. Yeah, is he sort of laying the blueprint for other guards in terms of, or other scorers in terms of, you're like you said, you're not going to get those calls this year. No, if you go to the basket looking for contact, it's not necessarily, you're not going to be shooting 10 foul shots, 12 foul shots a game this year. Yeah. So is he sort of laying the blueprint for other players on how to get their points? I mean, because we saw that with sort of James Harden, who started to pick it up, had a Harden night the other night, but was struggled early on in the season with him not getting calls and getting to the foul line. Another type of player that was sort of perimeter or basket and nothing in between, really, didn't have that mid-range in his game. Yeah. Is Trae Young are we seeing this sort of turn in the NBA for guards where it's like a throwback now to, you've got to increase your mid-range if you want to score?
I think so. I think guards in the NBA now need to stop trying to be Steph Curry, because they're not going to be. Like, Steph Curry's once in a generation. There's no point comparing every guard that is undersized and can hit a three that's going to be able to score like Steph Curry does. The reason Steph Curry doesn't have to drive to the foul line is because he can hit a three from anywhere, can pull up from anywhere. His off the ball movement's the best in the NBA, some of the best we've ever seen. Yeah. And I think Trae Young decided this season that rather than trying to be the next Steph Curry, he's going to just be Trae Young. And he's going to just play his own game. And he's not going to just, I'm undersized guard, I'm just going to pull up for three because I've got a 15% chance of sinking it. And it might work. Like, he's playing a lot less selfish in the last 2 years as well. When he first came in, he was obviously, he still had the assists, but I think he was still a little bit selfish sometimes. But this year he's just shown, he's just showing the rest, like you said, he's just showing the rest of the league, this is how you play with this new rule. And like you said, some players have been affected badly. So Harden earlier on in the season affected by the rule changes. I think Trae Young was affected by it, but I don't think he let himself get affected by it. I think he knew the rule changes were coming in, recognized where his game was going to suffer, and then worked hard and worked with his team to work out a way to get around it. Because if Atlanta are going to be successful over the next X number of years, they need Trae Young there, and they will build the team around him. For sure. They're doing exactly what they should. They're doing exactly what they should do. They're building the team around him. Every decision now for the next X number of years has to be made to make Trae Young the best guard in the NBA. That has to be their goal, because with him playing at that level, that's how they get to that's how they get to where they got to. And if they want to make occurrences, making the conference finals and things regular, then he needs to be at top level, and he is playing like this. There's very few that can touch him.
Yeah, I completely agree.
He's so good.
Andy, resident viewer in. Andy C. Ronaldo. Hey guys, great show. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. I know you're here every episode, dropping comments. We hope you're enjoying it. So thank you for dropping in again. Reese is back in. Thanks for the shout out, my friend. Hope you're all good. I think everyone's great. Rach is feeling a little bit poorly, but what a trooper. What a trooper, right? Rach shows up. She's like playing with injury today, fighting through it. Took the shot before the podcast from the team doctor to step up and be with her teammates. So
it's not COVID, is it?
No.
All right. So that brings us to our last topic of the day, and Are the Rockets finally lifting off? They start the season 1-16. They have this ridiculous losing streak, losing like 16 in a row. Now they've won 7 in a row, clawing themselves back to 8-16. They've obviously lifted themselves out of the bottom, past a few teams along the way. You know, we're not saying that the Rockets are going to go on and win the championship here, but you know, are we finally seeing some life from the Houston Rockets? What do you guys think?
I don't know.
Get in the comments too and let us know. But
I don't know. I think it's just good players having good nights. I don't think it's. You had Christian Wood come out and tell ESPN that it was a little surprising. So they're not under any illusion that this team can maintain any sort of momentum. I just think it's guys not worrying about it and play. I feel like there was such pressure going into the season for Houston. Obviously, last year trading away Harden, they're not going to, and then there's always pressure when you first start a season from a fan base. And I think once the Rockets realize that this is a long-term project, they're going to have to wait. They're obviously got a good draft pick last year. It's a few years down the line. And I just think it's young guys getting significant game time that they wouldn't have got elsewhere and just sort of enjoying themselves and playing to their best and not worrying about it. Like it's good to decent NBA players having good nights. I don't think it's a great team cohesion. Suddenly this is going to be, and they're going to go on a mad run and go like 16-16. But yeah. I don't know. They've been good. I like Christian Wood. I've always liked him. I think he's a really good player. I think if they're going to build around anyone, and who was it they got last year in the draft? I forget which one it was.
Jalen Green.
Yeah,
they got Jalen Green.
Yeah,
they got Jalen Green. So if they're going to build around sort of two players, you would think they'd sort of build around them. But yeah, they've been fine. But except if their best player, one of their best players, coming in and saying, "Oh, I'm a little surprised we've won 7 in a row," then you're maybe not. Maybe you're not going to continue that for very long. And I think they've got the Bucks next. So
we got the Bucks tonight. So that's what I was just going to say was tonight might be the end of that winning streak.
They could win that, but like the Bucks are weird. You could win that, or they could get hammered by 40. Like no one, so strange. Yeah,
told you though, like the Bucks can have their off nights completely. Like anyone can have an off night, but I genuinely think the Rockets at the minute. I don't mean this to be sound like that I'm putting him down, but Jalen Green's been out for this long period where they're winning. So I'm not saying that Jalen Green is a bad player. Absolutely not. He was second in the draft for a reason. Maybe he just doesn't fit in with that team. Maybe that just needs to be explored a little bit. Because obviously he got injured against the Bulls and he hasn't played. So for 6 of those games that they've gone on a win streak of, he's not played. So potentially, maybe the conversation has to be obviously not this year because it's his rookie season. He's going to get injuries. He's going to be hit and miss. Every rookie is. You're not going to find a rookie that's going to kill it every single week. But maybe the conversation needs to be had towards the end of the season, maybe next season, if he is the best fit for the Rockets, and if the Rockets are a best fit for him, maybe his skills could be utilized elsewhere. You know, they're going on a run at the moment. Obviously, Tim, we went on that run of 5 games. That was great. We were going to win the championship, and then shit again. So, you know.
You look at some of the wins they've had. I mean, Chicago, Charlotte, okay, decent wins. They've played the Thunder twice. Thunder twice, I believe, back to back. Orlando, New Orleans, and then the impressive win against Brooklyn the other night. But Reese in there kind of agrees with us. I think the Rockets are benefiting from a good run of form at the minute, but I don't think it lasts much longer. Yeah, it's I would buy into that as well. And obviously, like you guys touched on, teams are going to go on decent runs. You know, basketball is a game of runs, not just in game, but during the season. It's a long season. I saw some stat the other day that they set a record or something for the first team to lose 16 games and then go on a 6-game winning streak. I'm like, but how many teams have ever
Yeah,
lost
how many
16?
That's so niche.
What kind of stat is that? Like, who loses 6? Oh, we set the record. Yes!
Yeah.
Got the record.
That was their whole plan.
Yeah.
Started, if we lose 6 in a row, we
Yeah,
win
that was
7,
it.
and then we'll be fine. Yeah, that's crazy. They've
That
got
was-
Kevin
that
Porter
was the
Jr. out
master
as well,
plan.
don't they? He's not out. I think when he's on the court, they don't rotate the ball enough at all. I think he slows down every time he gets the ball. So I feel like they probably benefited from him being out. Again, I just think it's someone that doesn't fit this sort of lineup.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, look at the wins. Like, I think the three of us could play in a starting 5 against the Pelicans just now, and we probably win. Like, New
Decent
Orleans
shot
are-
against OKC too.
Yeah, but yeah.
Whoa, hang on.
Unless they play the Raptors, Rach. Unless they
Exactly.
play the Raptors.
That was
because-
heartbreaking. I was literally just like, "Fuck this shit." I was so angry. So
Could be
angry.
worse. You could be a Lakers fan who didn't score 100 last night.
That's a topic. We could do a whole other show on whether that whole dynamic is going to work.
We absolutely could. I just want to ask a quick question to you guys. Apart from the Raptors, who's your favorite team to watch this season? Because for me, I'm a Clippers fan. My favorite team to watch this season's been Charlotte. I don't know why. They're great fun. Charlotte are really
exciting.
good.
I've enjoyed watching Memphis this season too.
Yeah.
Cavs as well. They're quite impressive to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
The Cavs.
A lot of energy, fight.
Lots of young
Yeah.
players. I mean, they've been
Yeah.
ravaged by injuries, but they have every single. They're kind of like the Raptors. They just compete in every single game, and even if it's a double-digit loss, it doesn't come easy there's no easy wins against the Cavs. It seems like.
No.
Yeah. Right, looking at the association tonight, we touched on a couple of the games. The big one for me and you, Rach, obviously Raptors Knicks. Why don't we run down a couple of these games and you guys can just give me a quick who you think, just to close out, who you think's gonna win them.
Yeah, go for it.
Why don't we start with Indiana and Dallas? We talked about Luka Doncic's form off the start of the show, and how he's had a bit of a slow start, but still averaging 25. The whole conditioning thing. The Indiana thing, which we're going to get into next week with the news coming out of Indiana that they're looking to trade Sabonis.
Or Turner.
Yeah, Miles Turner and Levert. So they're looking to
It's
trade
2 of the 3, I think. I don't think it was all 3. It was like Karis Levert, Miles Turner, or Domantas Sabonis. It wasn't like
I heard the other report I read today was that all 3 were on the block.
Oh, really?
They could get the right
So many teams could get a Miles Turner and become a contender. Like, he's so good.
Yeah, that's for sure. If you're gonna tune in next week, guys, we will have a breakdown on the Indiana situation and where we think maybe are the landing spot for some of these players, and how it's kind of weird for me that they're going into a full rebuild mode. But another show, another topic. So Pacers, Mavs. What do we think?
Probably the Mavericks.
Yeah,
Mavs.
Yeah, Mavs.
Yeah, I'd probably go the Mavs in that one as well. Raps next, Rach.
Raps.
Yeah.
Raptors will win. Yeah.
Let's hope they rebound. Although with
Should be
the
fine.
way that Lou Dort and Shea and Dylan Booker, all the Canadians seem to come home and just go off in Toronto.
Absolutely.
So it could be RJ's night with his dad Rowan sitting courtside for sure. A tasty one at 7:30. The Hawks versus the Nets. We just talked about Trae. The Nets sitting top of the East.
It's a proper tester. If Hawks are going to be serious, that's a good tester for them. I still think the Nets will win. I think they've got too many dominant players that can sort of take control of a game. I reckon the Nets will win. I think it'll be a good game.
I think it'll be close as well, because Hawks are only just on the way up as well. So I think, 100%. The Nets will win, but I think it'll be dead close. It might even go to overtime.
All right, I will take the Hawks. I'll take the Hawks to win 13-12. Touched on Trae Young, how great he's been this season. Reese Beck, I don't know why. There's something. So Reese likes watching the Sixers.
Wow, that's good effort this season. It's a really good effort. They are awful. Yeah.
I also agree with this comment as well. Warriors. I forgot to say the Warriors. Warriors are watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Killing it.
I missed that one, so thanks for pulling it up because that is absolutely true. The
Wait,
Warriors.
Tim, you saw that thing from Steph the other night, didn't you? Like at the end of the first, where he gave away the ball, so it cut the lead to the single digits. So he ran up the court like 2.5 seconds to go, just pulled up from sort of half court, and it went in. Just as the commentator was saying, "Oh, you can't give the ball away at that, even if you are Steph Curry." And literally,
logo threes. It's all
unbelievable.
It's all about the logo threes this year in the
good.
NBA with Trae and Steph.
He's so good.
Right. We'll stay on the. We'll stay central for a minute before we go out west. So Bucks and Rockets.
Bucks,
yeah.
For the Bucks.
Giannis could get 50. Like if he's not guarded, correct.
Yeah.
If Christian would sit and Giannis is on the court, he could get 50. Like,
love it.
Bring them Rockets back down to earth. Like getting a bit cocky, aren't they?
No, like 100%.
Right.
Well, Christian Wood clearly isn't, as he said, he's a bit.
Well, clearly, yeah.
He's clearly very, very, very surprised.
Let's making our way west. Let's head out to Oklahoma, where the Lakers. This game in LA,
aren't
they? Depends which officials show up, I suppose, if the Lakers are going to win. I'll say Oklahoma because it'll be funny.
Oh,
I'll say Oklahoma.
Anna will fucking kill me.
Let's hope Shane will continue their run. And we end the night on the West Coast with a game I'll be watching here in Canada. It's on TV. Yeah, nice one to watch after the Raptors. Celtics Suns.
That'll be
good. That'll be really good.
Yeah.
It's 3 a.m. here.
Yeah, you guys will be sleeping. I'll
probably find a stream for Hawks Nets and then go to bed. I reckon that'll be the. I think the Suns.
20-4. Suns are 20-4.
Yeah, I think
Celtics 13-13.
Yeah, I think the Suns. The Suns are really good this year. Like, they're really good. They were brought back down to earth a little bit by the Warriors the other night.
Mm.
And then they just picked up
I said in the comments. I said that in the comments. I said the best thing that could have happened to the Warriors was they lost to the Suns because now they know what to expect.
Yeah.
And they knew exactly what to expect. So I think the Suns should push aside Boston.
You know, in that game that they had one eye on a potential playoff matchup. So that's why these regular season games with the top teams in the conferences, you kind of got to take with a grain of salt because they're not showing each other everything.
No,
they're keeping a lot of things back. But so you're going Suns in that one, Greg?
Yeah, I'll go Suns.
Over to Rach. Our Atlantic Division rivals, the Celtics, going to topple the Suns, I guess?
Just because I don't like the Celtics.
No one likes the Celtics. They're in Boston. No one likes the Celtics.
Yeah, if there's any Celtics fans watching, Boston fans are the most obnoxious fans in sports over here, just so everybody knows. But anyway, I'm gonna go Suns for that one as well. I know they lost the other night, so they got beat by 20 by Golden State, but then they rebounded the next night against San Antonio, and I just think that they are playing incredibly well. So I will go Suns as well. I'll be watching that one tonight. Should be a good one. And that kind of does it for us. It's flown by again. Another close to an hour. Great show, guys, as always. We'll be back next Friday, of course, with another one. We kind of gave you a little bit of a teaser in terms of getting into the situation that's going on in Indiana. If there's any topics that you guys want us to talk about, get a hold of us on Twitter. Let us know. You can find us at the handle that I have next to my name, Dimes and Buckets. How about from yourselves, guys? Parting words before we go?
No, not a lot. Not a lot. Just lots of content and stuff that's coming out on the channel. Like Tim said earlier, there's loads of stuff. Obviously, it's the Steel Chair podcast, which came out yesterday. That was a good couple-hour conversation between Ailey and Reese talking about the Attitude Era in wrestling, sort of the good, the bad, and everything in between. Nice. Obviously, there will still be this show, basketball content, and I think we're still up in the air about football content. I don't know what's happening yet. Keane made a big announcement that the Man United stuff will be moving to All for United. So if you're a Man United fan, go follow All for United. That's where you'll see myself, Rach, other people as well that are already associated with Tim, already associated with All for United. talking about Man United all the time. But I believe there will still be football content on here. I'm just not sure what, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what to expect.
I think it's mostly the Talk of the League podcast. So like talking all the Premier League teams. There will obviously be United in there, but I think it will mostly be just the whole roundup of the Premier League. But yeah, this channel will mostly be for the wrestling, the basketball, NBA, and Premier League. But the dedicated United stuff is moving over to All for United, just so we can concentrate a bit more on diversity here and getting other fans on from like other teams in the NBA. Like I'm trying to reach out into the community at the moment by doing Hoop Spaces, which is amazing. Chris is amazing.
They're a good lesson. They are a good lesson.
Yeah, very accommodating, very nice and informative. There's a load of fans that get in there and have a chat about their retrospective teams. So hopefully maybe in the future we'll get a few of them guys on as well. And
we will do for sure. We will do for sure. And I know there's going to be some in the future, they're looking at bringing some NFL content on the channel as well. So lots of good things happening. And we will be back then next week, probably with a guest. Spoiler alert, probably with a guest. And we will see you all soon. Take care. Don't forget to share, like and share the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll talk to you guys soon. I'm going to go warm up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Chinese.